Board, April 5th, 2023, meeting to order. This is the only meeting of the year that I call to order because it's our reorganization meeting where the superintendent or the assistant superintendent conducts the meeting until a new chairperson is elected. As per previous conversations with our attorney, the following process will be utilized for the nomination and election of a chairperson. I'll open the floor for a nomination of a chairperson. I will accept a nomination and ask for a second for each individual put forth, if more than one are put forth. I will call for discussion on each candidate, and then I will call for a vote. If the nomination fails, I'll repeat the process until someone is selected. If the nomination is successful, I turn the meeting over to the chair, and we proceed to elect a vice chair and a secretary. Any questions before I start the process? Excellent. At this time, I would accept a nomination from the chair.
I would like to nominate Amy Kellner for chair of the Hollis School Board. Second.
Do I have a second? Tammy? Okay, I have a nomination and a second. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, is there any discussion?
She's proven herself a great leader, and I'd like to see that continue this year.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0, and I'll turn it over to you, Amy.
Thank you, Superintendent Corey. Okay, at this time, I am going to call for nominations for the Vice Chair of the Hollis School Board for the 2023-2024 school year.
I nominate Carol Roy, if she will do it.
I will enthusiastically second that nomination. Any discussion?
Well, it is quite unconventional for the chair to second a nomination, but I'm glad you did.
Oh. Okay.
Because that is a vote of confidence that
Okay.
the new members should enjoy.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the nomination of Carol to Vice Chair? Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. At this point, I am looking for a nomination for the Secretary.
I'd like to nominate Tammy Fareed for secretary of the Hollis School Board.
I second. Thank you.
Good, get it in quick.
I wasn't going to.
I'm obnoxious because it's important that we record what we know so you guys can learn. Don't think I'm being that didactic.
Any discussion?
Tammy's
Happy
great
to
at
do it.
keeping
So-
time,
Okay.
keeping word. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of electing Tammy to the position of Secretary? Great. Thank you, Tammy, for taking that on. Okay. I'm also looking for 2 people to agree to be the signers of the manifests. And this is every 2 weeks, the business office, before they post their check run, they need to have 2 board members approve the expenses. So the 2 signers of the manifest will receive an email, has all the details of the vendor, a short description of what it's for, the amount, and you just have to review it. Ask any questions if you have any. They can provide you supporting documentation if you so would like to examine it, and they just need you to approve it. So it's quick. It doesn't take a lot of time. You just have to be timely about your responses so that we're not holding up check runs.
Everyone is looking at you too.
Notice
Because
this.
It used to be a chore that you had to go into the SAU and actually paw through all of the invoices, all of the piles of paperwork, sometimes very dense. The pandemic allowed us to streamline, the district to streamline that through just through an email with an attached file. It's a fantastic way to get to know the inner workings of the school district. And these folks are always super busy, but you should ask questions. You know, you can maybe just compile your questions. If you don't want to ask them, you can always ask Amy or Andy, but I would urge you to do it. It's really a no-brainer chore, like Amy said, it's just a few minutes, but you'll be shocked at snowplow costs.
That's what I was thinking
Gives
too.
you great insight into exactly kind of the minutia of the stuff that's there, as well as some of the expenses that we incur.
When you say email, do you mean like, I would print out the document to
No.
sign,
No,
sign it,
it
and
comes in
scan
a
it?
PDF in your email, you read through it,
Oh,
and
kinda
you
like
reply
electronic
your
sign.
approval.
Oh.
You
Say,
reply
"I
with your
approve."
questions,
It's all
I say
digital.
like approved, thank you, Carol. And so
So-
they log your approvals.
Oh,
via
You'll be
email, so there's
receiving
nothing-
email addresses through the SAU. One of you is an attorney, right? You understand, these are right-to-know vaults. So you'll receive an email that has a PDF attached to it. You click it open. You'll scan through all of the line items. Sometimes it's brief, sometimes it's very long. Different times of the year tend to have different amounts of checks. It's every 2 weeks, the checks, the accounts payable. And then, and we don't do payroll anymore. It used to do, we had to do payroll also, but payroll has now fallen under a different RSA, and it's fine. You don't have to do those. Isn't that correct? Donna's our account specialist. So then you simply reply. Carol will reply, I'll reply, I approve, and our name. You don't have to do any long anything. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
It is not rubber stamp, but it's also not an audit. We are annually audited by an outside firm in the summer and the fall, et cetera. There's all kinds of checks and balances. Literally, there's an elected treasurer that you see on the ballot every year, who also has some oversight. So there are many, many eyes see these expenditures, but by law, the board is required to supply 2 people who approve it. And so you're welcome to ask questions. You're welcome to assume it's fine. It's whatever you see fit. It's really under your purview. All right.
And just out of curiosity, in your, as board members' experience, have you been aware of any situations where a person who normally signs these has like observed something and come back and had an...
I come back with questions all the time. So I was the signer for the first couple of years, I think, that I was on the board, and I'm back. I just did it this last year as well. And I'll come back and be like, this doesn't look the same as last time. Can you tell me why? Or maybe these item numbers are the same, but it's saying it's different things. And so they answer them very quickly. And they can provide extra documentation. There was one where they were deleting an item and like one piece of the line was still there, and they were like, oh, good catch, that kind of thing. So there are nothing serious, nothing outstanding, more of our own curiosity because we don't live in that world. We see the summary of it, to be able to ask those questions and get them answered by the people who are looking at it all the time.
Right, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not a massive responsibility, but it is an opportunity really more than anything. I mean, it can be done as a rubber stamp, but it shouldn't be. You should ask all the questions you want.
And I ask a lot of questions.
Yeah. Me too. So,
Cool.
All right. So can I I'm going to appoint then, with your permission, Andrea and Ann to the signers. And I also need
You can put me as alternate.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
going to
that's
assign
fine.
Carol as an alternate.
Unless you wanted to be alternate, Tam.
it's fine, I don't care.
Okay.
I have a request that's an interruption of this. Could you guys pronounce your last names? Because do you say it with the S?
What?
Do you say Levesque or Levesque?
It's without the S.
Levesque?
That's how we say it. That's what I was told when I met him, so.
It was not true. They were just pulling your leg.
And Di Pasquale. Thank you.
Pasquale.
Yeah, Di
Thank
Pasquale.
you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and officially a welcome to our new members.
Yes, I should have said that. Thank you. Welcome.
We just dove right in because we were
We
chatting
did,
before.
we did. And so, at the next meeting, we'll also do formal committee appointments. There's a variety of committees that we need to appoint various members. So before that meeting, I'll reach out to all of you guys, and we can talk through some of the opportunities for the committee assignments, see where your interests lie, and then we'll do formal committee appointments at our May meeting. That sounds okay. Great. And if there's anything that veteran board members are aware of that they want to participate in, please reach out to me and let me know. But I'll talk to each of you before making those appointments. Okay, great. Okay, and with that, per our agenda, we are going to head into non-public. Can
I move that the board by roll call go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-8:3, Section 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, and C, to discuss a matter which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of a person other than a member of the body or agency itself.
Second.
And we, is there any discussion? No, probably not. Roll call vote. Start with Carol.
Carol Roy, aye.
Andrea.
Andrea Levick.
Andy Pasquale, aye.
Tammy, aye.
Amy, aye. So we are going into non-public at 6:11.
We'll do that.
first item on the agenda are agenda adjustments. And I believe there was, the approval of the meeting minutes was inadvertently omitted from the agenda. So we are going to add that to the agenda after the correspondence, resignations, retirements, and nominations. Are there any other agenda adjustments?
Not for me.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Correspondence.
I provided you 3 pieces of information. The first one is a memo to me from the Bureau of Federal Compliance. This is a yearly memo. What we do is we provide it to you tonight. We allow you to have basically the month to review it, and then we take a vote in May. All our federal grants are governed by this compliance. For federal grants, we have Title II, which is professional support for teachers. We have Title IV, which is for activities related to student performance or social emotional pieces around that. And basically what this says, and this is only 3 or 4 years old, is that we'll comply with all the laws regarding federal grants. When it came out, it was kind of redundant because as credentialed people, it's part of our licensing that I have to comply, and so does Gina, who oversees the grants, along with Kelly as the business manager. But this was added because in some districts, the board necessarily wasn't aware of how that money was being utilized. We don't receive very much in the way of federal dollars at all. But when we do different programs, we come back to you, you're aware of it, and it's a separate component in our annual audit. So that's the first document. Again, no action to take tonight, just more homework for you. The second one is the U.S. Department of Education School Infrastructure and Sustainability Commitments. Paula had sent this to me because it's something that Paula and Tara Happy, along with a couple other teachers, would like to do. Basically, what it will do is draw further attention to our programming around environmental science offerings, as well as our new food program that we're running. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in general. But what will happen is Tara and Paula will do the legwork on this. This will come back to you in May with the information that's required. And at that point, you will allow us to move forward. We're not aware of any costs with the programming. If we find any along the way, we would bring that to you. It's more a recognition and a way to move these type of programs forward. And you'll see later tonight what's happening because of our program in New Hampshire and nationally that I'm going to talk to you a little bit about as we go forward. The third document is the one, it's to the Hollis School Board, and it's from Candy Fowler and Abby Diaz. And that is about environmental science. So as part of our agenda tonight, when we get to discussions, I'm going to welcome Candy to the podium, and she'll touch base on that. But I just wanted you to be aware of that. Again, we're not looking for an action tonight. We, on rare occasions, will come in and ask a board to look at something maybe brand new and vote that night. But we try to limit that as much as possible for 2 reasons. One, this way you're allowed to formulate your questions and concerns and ask questions next month. But 2, it'll also become the minutes of the meeting. So the public who's interested in either one of these documents can then also preview them, review them, and they may show up to ask us questions during public input time. So those are the 3 pieces that I passed out. I have retirement. Let's see. Dear Mr. Corey, this letter shall serve as notification of my intent to retire from the Hollis School District as a Spanish teacher at Hughes. The effective date of my retirement will be at the end of the school year on June 30th, 2023. I have enjoyed this year, my final year as a teacher, and my return to Hollis, where I began my teaching career 31 years ago. And that's from Michelle Rogers. So I would need a motion to accept that retirement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor of accepting the retirement? Great.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
0-0. Thank you.
I have a resignation. I will be resigning from the Hollis Primary School school psychologist position for personal reasons effective the end of the school year, and that was from Amy St. Hilaire. I need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Anne, was that you?
That's Andrea.
Andrea, sorry.
She'll get to know your voices.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Thank you very much. And I have a nomination.
Andy, I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
Is it, what the effective date of resignation for Ms. St. Hilaire is?
End of the school year.
End of school year, that's what I missed. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a nomination for Jessica Marois, M-A-R-O-I-S, Tammy. Okay. She will be joining us as the guidance counselor up at Hughes. She has been with us this school year. I can tell you that the administration is very excited about this, and we look forward to working with her. She would be, has her master's plus 45, so she'll be on step 14 of the CBA, and she would be having a salary of $82,526. So I need a motion to accept that.
82,526.
Correct.
And you said it's a master's
Master's plus 45,
plus 45.
step 14.
Step 14, and I'm so sorry, position of? Guidance, right,
Hughes
good.
guidance.
Now we're good. Sorry.
Okay.
So,
Do you have a motion?
I move to accept the superintendent's nomination of Jessica Royce for the position of guidance counselor at Hughes, step 14, and a salary of $82,526.
second.
Did I include everything I was supposed to do? Okay.
All in favor?
Okay, great. And that is it for correspondence, resignations, retirements, and nominations.
So Amy, this is where we get the minutes.
Yes, please.
Do we need to do a motion on that, Andy, or Gina, a motion for the agenda adjustment to add the minutes?
No, we did it as agenda adjustments.
All right, that's fine. I didn't think. All right, so we have 4 sets of minutes from prior weeks to consider. So I move to accept the minutes of the Hollis School Board Public Session of January 4, 2023 with the following amendments. Page 2, line 47, replace "it's" with "it is." There's a grammatical problem there. And page 5, line 14, replace "addition" with "additional." And that's-
Second.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
This would be abstentions from the two more new board members, just
Right.
so they know.
Exactly, right. So,
Yes.
all in favor? Okay. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, great.
So I move to accept the minutes of the Hollis School Board non-public session of January 4, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Great. Thank you. 302.
I move to accept the minutes of the Hollis School Board special session of February 7, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor? 3. Opposed? Abstained? Great. 302.
And finally, I move to accept the minutes of the Hollis School District annual meeting of March 15, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, all in favor? 3. Opposed? Abstain?
Thank you.
Great, 302, thank you. Okay. We are moving on to the principal's report.
Okay, do you want to come up to the,
For the rest of the nominations, for everyone else?
Later, I
further?
think later.
Yeah, okay.
Great. you want me to give my principal's report since I'm here?
Yes,
All right.
that's what I wanted you to do. And if you want to highlight some of
I will.
Paula's, that would be great. 'Cause
Yep, so, thank you for allowing us to come to the board meeting. We can always come, I know, but it's always busy. And so Paula and I collaborate on the Hollis School District board reports and our enrollment reports. And we always have a really fun time highlighting like what's been happening in the last month and trying to give you a visual of what happens every day. And so hopefully we're capturing that for you. So we start with the looking ahead and just letting you know between this board meeting and the next board meeting, what are the events that are happening. If you do see something and you want to attend as a school board member, please just let us know. We'll be happy to have you in our buildings for that. The buildings and grounds, it's been a funky kind of winter where we've had lots of snow, then rain, then ice, then beautiful grass growing, and then more snow. Our buildings and grounds are being taken care of as much as they can be with new things falling and all of that. But both of us are looking forward to April vacation where we get to go and do some more deep cleaning and getting those few little pieces cleaned up. So that will be happening coming up. But I think that looking at Lance and how he's been working with custodial teams in both buildings, it's really just a smooth machine right now. We can say we need this is happening, and a lot of the needs are being taken care of. Few things are back ordered still, like new cafeteria tables at the upper, which I love, but we need more welding and we can't find someone to come in and do the welding at a safe time. So just planning all of those things on a day-to-day. For our staffing and students, that's our biggest part of our report because we have so many fun things that we're doing. In both buildings, we're working on that food recycling. The upper elementary is bringing in a few more grades. I think everyone here at the primary is doing that. We wanted to thank our PTA. They decided to do Teacher Appreciation Week early. Surprise! And that was really fun for the teachers. And we know right after vacation when the official national teacher appreciation, it's really hard. Everyone's just getting back into it. So we will do something for our staffs internally. We appreciate everyone who is working on that. And some fun things at the upper. Our geography bee. So there's not a national geography bee anymore. They stopped doing that a few years ago. So we're doing our own internal fun geography bee where I'm making up questions and recycling some old questions, and just really fun for our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders to realize they do know a lot about the world, even though it's a big, giant place. At the primary school, we're working on making sure that we get everybody ready for curriculum and working together. We've done some early release time in both the buildings on that, and interviewing is happening. So I know Paula put that on her report. It's also for me. I just didn't highlight that piece of it right now. Any questions? All right, we appreciate your support and work on our behalf. Thank you. Okay, so public input was posted at 6:30, and we would have left it open for half an hour, which brings us to 7. I'm not seeing anyone here for public input, so we will move right along to our discussion items.
Now, do you want to touch on the revenue and expense?
Sure. So in the packet, you have a revenue expense report from March 27th, 2023. As you can see, we show with our year-to-date expenses and what we still believe to be encumbered, we will have $420,488 remaining, give or take. We still have a few more months, but we watch it monthly. With revenue, we currently have a surplus of $47,714 from what we budgeted. So between the expenses, in our expense savings and our revenue, we see an unreserved fund balance of $453,256. With that, we would fund the trusts that were anticipated needs for FY24, and it would bring us down to the projected fund balance of $129,286. Kelly then included, with that, we had to do some budget cuts for the FY24 budget. If we did have that projected fund balance, she was just throwing out possibly covering the interactive flat panels, the audio system, and Hughes furniture, and we'd still have a projected fund balance of $95,286.
When would we need to make decisions on the the
We can
covering
make-
budget cut items.
We can make decisions up till the last meeting of the board in June.
Okay.
This was, Kelly included that because that was the board's request. You know, they respected the fact that we did need to cut some funds to make it the guidance. But at the same time, because of some of the items that were there, they really wanted to see if we could get them back. Now, I would anticipate, because of the encumbered system that we use, that number will continue to grow from the 129. That's typically what happens. Because what we're finding out now is maybe a student who is receiving services no longer needed that service starting in January, but that money would have been encumbered for the year. And now special ed is working to clear those invoices. So we will come back, and at some point Kelly will write a memo requesting the board to look at those funds, and it's a simple board vote if they so choose.
Thank you.
This is just for discussion tonight. We don't have any action to take on it. There's a lot of lingo in this, and I really would urge you to talk to any both of you, just to understand what all the encumbered means, that they've set aside the money in a formal process to hold it for when the expenditure is expected. But sometimes by the time the expenditure is expected, the expenditure is no longer there. Things happen, so.
I just had a question. Can you remind me what the tuition revenue is?
That's preschool and non-resident tuition.
Oh, okay, right.
And our teachers who select to
Tuition.
come.
Correct, yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Andy, could I ask a question about the school board SAU assessment line in the expenses
Yep.
chart? So the balance is 93,336. And typically, if I'm not mistaken, that's where we sort of keep that 95,000 contingency line item.
Right, but if you notice, we still have 186 encumbered.
Exactly.
And so typically, right now, what usually makes that go into this direction right now is legal expenses.
So
different
I've
things
never
in-
asked you this all these years, and I'd like to understand it a little bit. We like to avoid using any money from the contingency unless something truly urgent comes up. So this really isn't showing that we've dipped into the contingency fund. It's
No.
just a coincidence that it looks that way,
Correct.
95 versus 93 and
Correct.
all of that.
Because
Right.
once the 186, because what we typically do in many times is we encumber the 95
Right.
right away, because the 95 can't be spent without a public hearing
Exactly.
and board permission and the budget committee's visit. So with those requirements, I'm sure Kelly has it encumbered.
Got it, that's great. So the 93 isn't actually a subsection of 95, that's on the side. Okay,
Correct.
great. And then I also am interested in the transportation line item. I saw the notes in the subsequent page about student support services and the special education, et cetera. I would have thought, the implication, I understand it's all very much a matter of confidentiality about specific students, et cetera. I would have expected to see the transportation costs for special ed increase, and yet we have extra left over. Is that likely is that a sort of settled, whatever the circumstances are? I'm
Well-
not asking you to tell me what they are, but do you feel like that's really gonna sit
I
there?
feel that's very valid. I think one
Okay.
thing that sometimes when we talk about transportation, we forget that if I already have a student at school X out of district, and we place a second student, our transportation costs don't go up.
I see.
So that's the
There is
biggest
that.
piece, because now we just have 2 students being transported to that location.
That's just an example, that's not revealing anything
right.
about anyone, okay.
And we tend to use consistent providers and also try to limit the time that a child would be on a bus or a
Of course.
van. And definitely trying to stay under an hour.
Yeah, sometimes you have to budget for something that's architecturally solid, but then it turns
Right.
out to be less expensive, right?
Well,
Okay.
and what happens sometimes is, like right now, we'll be entering IEP season soon.
Mhm.
So we might be looking to place somebody at a school. We don't know what school yet because the IEP team hasn't told us. So from a budgeting standpoint, I have to budget in transportation. If the IEP team makes the recommendation of the same school as a student already going there, then that's why you see money that was encumbered all of a sudden starting to show up as available.
And also if a student has been out of district and then returns to our district
Yes.
mid-year, which is the hoped-for outcome.
Yeah.
Then you have a different budget line item.
And sometimes if you see a major windfall in special ed, what happens on occasion is a family who might have been receiving out of district services moves.
Right.
And that money is attached to the child. And once they move, we still have that money encumbered, because one of the agreements kind of with the budget committee is they fund special ed because of the legal mandate, and they do a great job of doing that. At the same time, we don't expend those funds unless it's for special ed. So if that money became available, we pretty much make sure that that is going back to the
Returns,
taxpayers. If we have, like, out of that 129, a lot of that is regular ed money right now. So that's why we're looking at the interactive flat panels and things like that. But even like the audio systems benefit all students. So that's both the regular ed and the special ed piece. So we feel quite comfortable because, next month somebody could move in and we need an audio system for a particular class. So that's probably the most volatile piece of the budget because you don't know who's going to walk in. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Gina for the school calendar.
Okay, so here's our first viewing of the school calendar. It looks very similar to prior years, with teachers returning the Monday prior to Labor Day, students starting the Thursday prior to Labor Day. Moving through September, we've identified our early release, our 4 early releases on the calendar, specifically October 5th. We're looking at that early release for our mandatory 2-hour suicide prevention training to take place then. Holiday on October 9th. Maybe you'd appreciate this, maybe not, but we're looking to have a professional day on November 1st, the day after Halloween, as we don't have our voting day on.
I
Well,
appreciate
candy.
that.
That's always a fun day in schools. And then we have, my nose is starting to get me. Then we have Veterans Day on November 10th, the day off. Early release scheduled prior to the Thanksgiving recess. So our students would get out a little bit earlier on the 21st, that Tuesday, similar to what we did this year. Looking at December, our holiday vacation, the students' last day would be December 22nd, but the days off would be the 25th through January 1st, with a return to school on Tuesday, January 2nd. Martin Luther King on January 15th is a school holiday, and then January 29th, early release. Another early release, February 7th. So we're front-loading the early releases in this calendar because we have a great deal of professional development planned for all of our teachers, with some intensive math training, which will require them to meet again, look at student work, and really dig into what they've learned in the sessions and then how to apply that. So we're trying to do so in a way that provides us the most benefit during the school year. So trying to front load that a little bit. February break. Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome. Gotcha.
February 26th through March 1st.
Springtime allergies, I guess.
Yes. And then looking into March, Professional Day on March 12th, which is the voting day. That was really important to the Brookline School District. April looks pretty similar to the usual April break, April 22nd through the 26th. May, Memorial Day on the 27th. The last day of preschool would be June 6th. The last day of school would be June 18th. That includes the 5 snow days, so it could be earlier than that because I'm hoping for no snow days next year. And then if the 18th was the last day, then the last day for teachers is the 20th. So that's 178 student days and 186 teacher days. So that's just for viewing, and I believe we would vote next month.
Yes, and one thing we are looking at from a facilities business point of view is Friday,
This school year.
yes, for this school year, I just want to make the board aware, we're looking at Friday, June 16th, potentially is our last day, and that would be a half day. We'll make that final decision come next month. One of the concerns in Hollis is we have a multitude of construction going on again this summer. So every day we can gain is a plus, and we may do some work on one of our bathroom facilities over April vacation because of the need to put that, because the primary school will be basically, at a minimum, getting pretty much all new bathrooms. And there's also the potential for a brand-new kitchen. It's just a matter if we can get everything done in 10 weeks. Because parents don't want me calling them saying, we're not going to open because we don't have a cafeteria. So.
Just
as-
that.
as
The primary pressure point is curing time on concrete,
Right.
just so you know.
Okay. And Tammy serves on the facilities committee, has been on it for all our projects.
Wealth of knowledge
And
right
we
there.
meet
about the facilities.
once every 2 weeks, basically, and I'll have more information in May, but I just wanted to put that on your knowledge. That's what we're looking at, and we will probably work with our teachers to do professional development up at Hughes, because the sooner we can close this building down, the sooner we can start work. And we may actually, we've had some tremendous success with PD days where it's a work product. So I'm a second grade teacher. I'm going to work on my math curriculum, and what I do is I basically get paid for a day. We don't tell you exactly when to do it, but you show up with a product to your administrator at the beginning of the school year. And that has been very, very successful, and a lot of teachers have really appreciated that, because there's that unit they've always wanted to work on, and now to have a day that they know kind of they owe us, but at the same time, we have wonderful people, so they take this professional responsibility very seriously, and we're always amazed at the work, and so it's like, wow, this works really well. So there's a couple of things, but I just, when we were on the calendar, wanted to give you that idea about the end of this year, because we have people from all different grade levels listening. Graduation is June 10th, and that is not moving. You know, it's-
While we're talking about the calendar, out of curiosity, what is the state mandate for number of days for public school?
Well, we base our calendar now on hours. Okay, that's the way the state does it.
Oh,
The
okay.
teachers' contract is days, we're hours, and we base our hours on our curriculum needs. So if you just went by the state minimum hours, we'd be done sometime in the middle of May, because we have one of the longest school days in the state.
Okay.
So really for us, when I look at June 16th, the question I ask administrators, are we going to be finished our curriculum by then? You know, that's the big question. You know, a kid's going to leave with everything they were supposed to get from, K to 6. You know, if they tell me yes, that's how we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
I know there was a day this year where the co-op went to school, but we ended up with a half day because of the weather change while the kids were on the bus. Are they having the same last day? Are you making this SAU wide for
It'll be-
last day of school, or will this be district per?
It'll be SAU-wide, and one of the big reasons for that is the busing contract.
Okay.
And again, it comes back to the curriculum. So with graduation being June 10th, last day of exams is the 16th. So that works very well for that district. And then the Brookline district has reviewed it and got the same update, and they'll vote in May. And I don't see them having a concern about the last day.
Okay. So we're not expecting you to come back in May with a different day for us to vote on? We're thinking it's the 16th?
Unless we had that, crazy April snowstorm, or, yeah. Or the only other thing is, and again, I hate to, but it happens, spring flooding. Those type of things, so, I know, but, I live in worst.
Sorry I brought it up.
I live in worst case scenario, so,
It's your land.
yeah.
So,
thank you.
Was the original calendar day going to be the Monday, or was that
Yes.
16th always planned? So it's really just
It
going to
was
be the
19th.
Friday versus the following Monday.
Correct.
The
We've found
the
that we don't
projected was
have
the 19th.
great attendance rates when we do that, especially if we do a half day in the last day. And again, if we're confident where we are with curriculum, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But from a taxpayer's standpoint, we get the teachers through the professional development, working on next year's material, so they have a leg up. So we're still fulfilling the teacher's contract at the same time.
Okay.
And for the benefit of folks listening, do the children from the elementary school have a step-up day to meet their next year's teachers? I know the answer to this question, but I'm saying it for the benefit of people who will ask this question every year.
Yes, the middle school.
The middle school is going up to the,
Right, it's scheduled.
The sixth grade will
Sixth
go
grade's
to
going
the middle school.
Correct.
That's it.
And we're busing them up there, and they'll spend time up there and getting to know that. Down at the elementary level, we don't traditionally,
I haven't done that in years.
yeah,
Correct.
do that.
It's always a question, so I wanted to make
Yep.
sure that was part was brought up.
We really believe that middle school transition is so big for families, that to take them up, and for those kids who are anxious, we have them in it now, then they'll be able to come in over the summer, and if a family needs 4 or 5 visits for their child to be comfortable, they're most welcome to do that. They just need to contact the administration.
Awesome.
So the elementary school's not doing step up like 3rd to
No.
4th? Oh. Okay.
You haven't done that?
Really? God, I feel like.
Yeah, sure.
I can't speak. Yes, I can. We do find time in the school year for the 3rd graders to come up to the upper, see what the 4th grade teachers do, meet the 4th graders. They just aren't meeting their teacher, they're meeting the whole team.
Okay.
And then the same thing happens in this building and the upper, where teachers of those higher grades will come down and visit the classrooms of, the 6th grade teachers will visit the 5th grade, the 5th grade teachers will visit the 4th grade. So kids get a chance to see all the teachers, and then after registration, they'll find out who their teachers are in August.
Okay, all right, got it.
say
Thank
that.
you.
Now we're ready for your memo.
Okay.
Ba-da-bum.
Andy, should I just read it so everyone can hear, not everyone
I
has
think,
a
I think it's good for people at home.
Okay,
Yep.
yep, absolutely. So on your tables and for those, Donna, do you have one too? Yeah, okay. No? Here you go.
Thank you.
So Abby Diaz is the curriculum administrator, which some of you have met her, but Ann and Andrea, you have not met her yet. She will be at the next meeting with me, so you have a chance to put a name and a face together. She's the curriculum administrator for both the primary and the upper elementary school. We work hand in hand together, so this memo is from both of us, really talking about environmental science as an opportunity for the upper. So I'm just going to read the memo out loud. As the school-based leadership team, it is our responsibility to assess and improve our programs to provide a well-rounded education for our students. When we are faced with a vacancy, it is critical to take a step back and evaluate the best way to move forward. Do we maintain our current status quo, or can we make a change to move the district forward? To that end, we would like to propose the implementation of the year-round environmental science program at the Hollis Upper Elementary School for our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. It would build upon the successful environmental science model that's already here in place at the primary. For several years at the upper, we have only offered environmental science classes in the fall and the spring, providing students with limited exposure to this rapidly growing field. By establishing a full-time specialist position in environmental science, we can provide our students with more comprehensive instruction and better prepare them for the future studies in these careers. So to facilitate this change, we would suggest replacing the Spanish specialist position with the environmental science specialist position. However, we do recognize that many students and families value the opportunity to study a world language, and we want to make sure that they continue to have that option. We are proposing using the funds allocated from the environmental science stipend in our new budget to hire a world language specialist who can teach a weekly 4th, 5th, or 6th grade session of Spanish during our choice block. Students who wish to study Spanish can opt to do so for 1 trimester at a time or the entire year. Right now, they currently do get 1 Spanish class a week and choices once a week. So it would be the same piece. It would just be students who are interested in it instead of everyone. And then everyone would go to environmental science. We seek the support of the school board in moving forward with this proposal. Hughes already has a well-equipped science lab with sinks, lab tables, and equipment that's in place to support the program. Our next steps will be to create a comprehensive curriculum and establish teaching expectations. We plan to present these details to the board in May, so I thank you for considering this proposal to enhance our educational offerings at the upper elementary school.
And to remind folks, one of the retirement letter that you read was the Spanish teacher from Hughes, so that's the vacancy that
Yep.
Ms. Fowler's talking about.
And historically, whenever we've had a vacancy, we've taken the time to look at our programming. So this is an opportunity to, I think, enhance our programming without enlarging the budget. Because from a cost point of view, it'll be basically a wash. We do not have a world language program in Brookline, so we've had a couple of years now to compare data at the middle school. And we're not seeing any drastic difference score-wise from kids who have had world language and those who have not. But we understand that some people are passionate about this, and we can offer that opportunity to their child so they won't be losing anything. It'll just be part of the Choices program. And I think historically, when kids have a passion for something, they do participate in the Choices program. It's probably our most popular program up at Hughes. So from the standpoint of where we are with environmental science and STEM overall, I think this is an opportunity that I fully support and endorse, and look forward to the presentation next month. And in a couple minutes after, if the board has any questions for Candy, Virginia, or I, we're going to talk a little bit about what's happened at the primary school and kind of using that as a springboard for grades 4, 5, and 6. So if there are any questions or concerns or something that you may want to have in the presentation next month, that would be helpful for us so that we can try to address anything. And oftentimes what also happens is you leave the meeting and you think, I should have said this or that. That's fine, just send one of us an email, or all of us an email, and we'll try to get the answers so that you'll have a comprehensive presentation next month.
Excellent.
So part of what we're planning on doing is looking at the current science standards and seeing which ones would be the responsibility for the environmental science position and which ones are the responsibility for the teachers, and how that overlap can happen for our students. So I'll be part of it, and then pictures of like the space in case you haven't seen it, and if you think of anything else, we'll add that in too. Okay?
Can I ask you a question,
Sure.
Andy, Gina? Sorry, I have to formulate my thoughts. I know what I want to ask, but it's hard to find the words. Generally, there had been a strong push to amplify science education in both of our buildings 5 or 6 years ago. And that's when we lost Spanish at the primary school and restricted it to the upper, and enhanced the environmental science program here, and it went from a part-time to a full-time, et cetera. The rationale around some of those changes was that we were going to build science more intensively, or more extensively even, into each of the classroom curriculums, each of the grade level curriculums, so that all of the general classroom teachers would be delivering more science-based curriculum through other subject matters even, right? Math, reading, et cetera. If we have this, if we make this change that you're proposing, would the classroom teachers have some of that reduced in some fashion?
No,
Is that part of the plan
So this
anyway?
is just one small strand of all the 4, 5, and 6 grade standards that they're required to cover. So they'll still cover, some items might be moved to environmental science position. And keep in mind it would be a special, so it's once a week. But you'd have more opportunities for experiences, such as going outside
Right.
to do more hands-on
Right.
with the content that you're learning in the classroom. So no, the answer.
Okay.
We would still have the science in the classroom integrated as it has been. This would just be an opportunity to dive deeper, do more hands-on, and focus that work in the environmental science.
And the science classroom itself, I don't know if folks know, but that building was built as a middle school, a junior high school, middle school originally. And so it was built for the middle school curriculum, so it has a room that's equipped for middle school science in the 70s, but still.
Science tables haven't changed that much.
Yeah. So have you had, is any of this going to incur an expense in just checking the condition of any of the facilities in that room?
No, the facility has been used by our
Oh.
current environmental offerings.
Mhm.
The concern was that it just seemed like we wanted more.
Absolutely.
And there was only
I
so much we
that.
could get out of
Right.
the way that was structured.
So there's not an additional cost in looking at plumbing or gas jets or any of those things?
So up until now, science then has been part of this Choices program, or has it been treated as a special? How has it been treated thus far?
At the upper?
At Hughes, yeah.
So we had a consultant, if you will, that came in and did some very isolated specific units in the fall and in the spring. And it
Are
wasn't.
you talking specifically environmental science,
Yes.
right?
He's talking
Well, you
science.
just said science in
Science.
general, right?
Oh.
So I just want to make sure you're talking the same.
I apologize. So science is a regular offering in the classroom, and all the classroom teachers teach science.
By the home teacher.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we had a small bit of environmental as just sort of a bonus.
The contractor was brought in.
Yep, throughout the year.
And so this would make a permanent, like, every week?
Once a
every
week,
day?
45 minutes
Okay.
for
Where
all.
currently we have Spanish once a week.
For 45 minutes.
For the whole student body at Hughes. This proposes to replace the built-in Spanish with built-in environmental science and change
And allowing Spanish to
Spanish to
become
become a choice only.
a choice that they can opt into.
And specials up at Hughes work same as specials at HPS, where they visit a different specialist each day of the week. So they've got gym, they've got art,
Music,
things like
yeah.
that, music class. It's the same up at Hughes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The other reality, just to keep on the table, is with the retirement of our Spanish teacher, there's no guarantee we're going to find a Spanish teacher. It's been very difficult the last few years, and we were fortunate to have somebody kind of, what I'll say, kind of come out of retirement.
Reeled them back in.
Yeah, and then choose to retire again. So that would be a worry. We went, just so you know, we've gone the entire year at the middle school without a tech ed teacher. We would have called it woodshop when we were in school, but it's tech ed now. But there just aren't people out there certified in that area. And Spanish is becoming one of those pieces. We do believe as a choice program with a limited schedule that we would have a better chance of maybe attracting a retiree who's worked for us before, or somebody from another district that would be interested.
Are we concerned about being able to fill the environmental science position?
There's always a concern, but I think the likelihood of finding an upper elementary teacher with a background in science is greater. And we have some teachers, I think, that work for us already that will be very interested in this position, and then would be backfilling with the K to 6. So, staffing is going to be an issue, but I will say, because of the Hollis reputation, we are seeing pretty good pools right now coming in for the positions that we are advertising for people that we have known already retired. Like we had a retirement of our PE teacher, and there's a pool coming in for that. So I do feel comfortable at this stage, and I think, my worries I have told the board is more for those long-term leaves where somebody gets sick or expecting children or something. Those are a greater concern to me at this time than advertising a full-time benefited position this time of year.
Yeah, subs are really hard to find.
Right.
Speaking of tech ed at the middle school, since you've stolen our beloved tech teacher from Hughes, are you backfilling that?
Yes, we are.
Okay, you've
Yes,
got
we
good
are.
pools for that.
Yep.
She's gonna be spectacular at the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
She really is. She really is.
So next month, we'll welcome Abby and Candy back, and Gina will do relief from the bullpen, as they say in baseball season finally, and go over that. And we most likely would be asking for a vote next month, so that we could get a position posted and be able to hire.
Sure. Okay.
Kind of along that, thank you, Candy. If you want to head out, I know you have a ride. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to also take this opportunity to make you aware a little bit of environmental science at the primary level. It's a program that we put in a few years back, and Tara Happy, who is our teacher, has just thrown that into something very, very special. This year, Gina and I were approached about a grant to work with our cafeteria to reduce food waste. And Tara was one that brought that forward. We were able to secure the grant, and we're in that process. I just wanted to highlight a couple pieces of information that have come to us as a result of that. Tara and Paula have been contacted by the World Wildlife Fund and Arizona State University. They would like to share our food waste data and story, and they have welcomed Tara to participate in the Zoom to kind of share that. The New Hampshire Environmental Educators Association, we will be sharing our story on May 3rd at their workshops. Vanguard Renewables, the company who receives our food waste, would like to share our story at a national level and reach out to newspapers and radios to again encourage this across the country. Vanguard would also like to feature us as part of their Heroes program. Here is an explanation. The Heroes program ensures that we would spread the wonderful story of our school's waste recycling efforts in publication like the one that was sent to Paula and Tara. They would allow us to put our school's logo on the website and tout you as a food waste partner in the sales efforts to other schools. There's a number of steps still to go with that, and ultimately we would have to come to the board for a release to do that because it's a school logo and that. But it's a tremendous, advertisement for us, and really a credit to Tara, Candy, and Paula and Abby for all their curriculum work around this. Also, we have been contacted by Oyster River School District over on the Seacoast. They are just starting a composting program, which we've had for years, and heard about our food waste. So they actually have some students, high school students, who will be coming to visit us to try to start a program out on the seacoast of New Hampshire. Food Rescue has nominated HPS for being a food rescue leader and would like us to record a podcast to share their story of the food waste program, and Paula and Tara will be looking at that in May. Those are some of the pieces that have come about. You may be aware we also had an article published, I believe it was in Finland. We had to get it translated. So the word has
Not easy to
spread
do.
about this program, and it's just one example of what our children are doing that is going to probably result in a different way of approaching school lunches, not only locally and in our state, but nationally, because it's amazing how much waste there used to exist. And we view this expanding as we move forward with more environmental programs. We have interest from our own students at the upper levels, which will grow rapidly because these children are going to move to the co-op and beyond, and obviously it will just become part of their natural habits. As a board member, if you get an opportunity, you can come in. It's quite something to watch. As a father of 3 boys, I couldn't get my boys to put anything anywhere near it belonged. And I now watch 100 kids at a time go through a process that is very structured, that they take very seriously and help each other out because they really see the value in this. So I wanted to mention those on behalf of Tara. I know the board understands what she does, but I wanted the community to really understand how she represents our teachers and is just one example of the countless wonderful things that go on K-6 on a daily basis. So this is kind of a little bit of the driving force behind the need for looking to expand environmental, is because it's really being student-driven, and I think that's the important thing that we have to look at to be able to, in a couple of years, have 600 students, all working on food waste will be very powerful. So I thank you for allowing me to share those pieces, and at some point, maybe next fall, we'll welcome Tara to come in and kind of present and follow up if we make the selection to go to grades 4 and 6 with Abby of what that curriculum looks like from a hands-on point of view. It's one thing to look at standards. It's another thing to see the kids go out. And it's amazing. Today was not the greatest day. And yet those kids are out in the woods. They're smiling. They're happy. They're excited. Some of them are going beyond their comfort level. They don't want to pick up the dirty rock and see what's under it, And then, but they get into that whole exploration, and then all of a sudden, it's like, wow, that's what this is. So it's really a credit to everything that's going on.
I'm so proud of them. What an awesome thing.
Yeah.
I've heard about it from my primary schooler, but to hear kind of the recognition that it's gotten is amazing.
It is.
I love it.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And I think more and more school districts are going to be moving in this direction. Because again, just look at the business side of the house. If we reduce waste, we reduce the number of dumpsters that get picked up, and you actually end up with cost savings as well. And that's it for discussion section, but if I could be indulged just for 1 second, I just want to make the board, it just dawned on me that I didn't mention it during the principal's report because Candy was here. I do want to just call your attention to enrollment.
I've got a footnote on that myself. I was
Okay.
going to ask you before you jumped off of that.
Yeah,
Good call.
and the only reason I make you aware of that is because we're looking at some solutions because we believe we might have a space problem. So you might be sitting presently in a first grade classroom next year.
Oh, even next year, you're thinking?
Yes. And just so you know, we're doing our homework on a variety of issues because we don't necessarily see this issue going away because of the amount of building that's going on. So we actually have toured both facilities, and we don't envision it for next year, but we could move third grade up to Hughes, the entire third grade at some point, if our numbers continue to grow. One of the issues that we deal with at this level is your little ones need to be on floors that are immediate access to the outside. So your K population in your first grade. And that's where we see really the rapid growth, and that's why this is one of the rooms we're looking at. Because again, it used to be 3 classrooms many, many years ago. So as enrollment dwindled, it became a very large library. Now we might need to go back the other way. And again, it's happy to take any questions, but it's just more, put it on your radar. We'll have more details in May because we're working with facilities. We'll end up getting the fire department involved, obviously. But right now, we will definitely be having 5 sections of second grade, which we budgeted for that teacher. We may be in need of an extra section, either kindergarten or first grade. We're not sure which. That money would be allocated through the contingency fund of the budget. So we're prepared from a budget point of view. Now we're just looking at the space.
When you say an extra, I think you meant a sixth.
Yeah.
A sixth class because we're at 5 right now,
It'd be
right?
6, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Just to clarify, when you say first grade, would there
This is
still be a
divide-
library?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
Still be-
dividable.
Yes,
Okay.
if you look where the American flag is,
Yeah.
the wall, a temporary wall would be somewhere around there. And we have to decide which end we go to, because the other end happens to have a bathroom. But we'll also have new bathrooms this summer if everything goes well. So I just call that to your attention, because from a safety point of view, this puts our youngest on the same floor, and,
Yeah.
for a fire drill purpose and things like that.
Absolutely.
Just historically, this room as a library used to be cram-packed with books. And the digital revolution has shifted a lot of that redundancy. So we have lots of books, but we don't, it was hard to move in here from all the shelves full of books. So there's really more space in this big room.
I just like to say for the record, I've worked in 2 charter districts where libraries ended up disappearing in lieu of space. And I just pray that doesn't happen here, because the argument was always, well, there's the teacher classrooms and that's more important. I can just say it doesn't work, that there needs to be a library. So I just hope we can find solutions where we can still preserve this sacred space. It truly makes a difference, and I've just seen how it can hurt a community of schools
No,
firsthand.
I would agree with that. We are also looking at portable, which I'm not really in favor of.
I've taught those before.
Yeah. So it's kind of like.
They're cold or hot.
Yeah, as a former teacher in a portable, you kind of understand.
I
like,
understand it
my,
all.
my pecking order of trying to figure that out.
Yep.
I did miss it when we were doing the principal's report, so I did want to bring it up, so you're just aware it's
Sure.
in the works,
Absolutely,
and we'll
yeah.
come back with more concrete details. And again, we're not guaranteed anything, because the other thing that historically, if the economy were to go south, our enrollments oftentimes go down because many of our families are tied to some of the corporations locally. So we have seen that as well. So we definitely don't want to overbuild, and in 3 years now we've got too many spaces.
Andy, the enrollment numbers on, not the chart that's attached to the principal's report, but the chart that the district supplies us every month. If you know, I don't know if you guys know that we have a policy that enshrines maximum numbers for each grade level in our district, and K and 1 are a maximum of 18. And then 2 and 3 go up to 20, and all the grades at Hughes are 23. So
That's different than the state, is what she's pointing out. That's
it's
a district.
vastly different
District
from the
is
state
lower.
and most of the
Yeah.
districts around us, and it's one of, that is a sacred, it's another good use of that word.
Sorry, let me be clear, is that did you mean that's a district policy?
That's a
District
District
policy,
policy.
so
Okay.
state allows more.
Understand.
Our district
Okay.
chose to keep those levels there.
Thank you.
The district
You're welcome.
the state tends to allow most grades to go up to 30.
I understand.
And we have a militant view about that, so.
Yep, good.
So,
Yeah.
so if we look at grade 1, 17, 19, 19, 20, 20, we're a little over spec, and it's up to the board to allow the spec to be, educational specifications, we just refer to it as ed spec, to exceed the max when it's a 1 or 2 and there's, contingencies and planning. If those kids go up, if we keep the same numbers and they don't expand, those numbers fit perfectly well within our ed specifications for 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. I'm looking at that pre-K number. You added 6 since our last meeting.
Because remember, pre-K is, I become eligible when I turn 3.
Right.
So it's the hardest
So
thing
it's
to
whenever
predict.
you show up.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I
Yeah.
understand, but that was just that number,
yeah.
went, what?
Yeah. And just so the new board members know, when we went over ed specs, the board decided to allow Paula to hire. We didn't want to create a new section because children are already attached to their teacher. So what we did is we provided hours to each of those classrooms to reduce the numbers.
Paras, right, so, AIDS. But really, so your concern is that the current numbers are gonna grow even though they're moving into grades that have higher allowances.
Yeah.
If the trends continue, we're gonna see.
Right. It's more just being proactive, so if it happens, we're not doing a decision in August out of
Right.
necessity. This way, we could at least talk our way
Have the
through,
plan.
if this happens, this is what I plan to do. If this happens, this is what I plan to do.
Yeah.
Um,
And we would get the teacher out of contingency, the contingency
That,
line.
yes, we budgeted for grade 2, we would get the first thing we would do is we would see if we can find the money in the operating budget.
Right, right.
Because what we'll have potentially is some teacher turnover between the retiree's salary and the new person's salary. So that may allow us to hire that person through that. If we were not able to do that, that's when we would go into the contingency. You also have another fund that is available to the board in the unreserved fund balance. Again, that would require the public hearing and notification to the budget committee, but obviously, I don't think, from my years in this district, anybody would say anything. It was because enrollment dictated that we needed a staff member.
Great. And just to kind of put it into perspective, when my now 5th grader was in kindergarten, there were only 4 classes.
Mm.
And now we're faced with possibly needing a 6th.
Well, and if you look at the 22 enrollment, because we provide you basically almost 12 years of enrollment, 373 has been the highest in an awful long time. And the bigger classes are starting to move to Candy's building, so we're gonna, we have a little more space up there, which is nice. But we're also preparing at the co-op level, because this isn't just a Hollis issue, Brookline is seeing rapid growth as well.
I was gonna ask that question because I know that there's been chatter at co-op meetings about how it's less enrollment, but I'm like, what's coming? I know it's
Right.
coming from us,
Right.
but Brookline's seeing the same
Right.
growth trend.
Brookline
Elementary
is just
anyway?
finishing construction so that they can have 5 classrooms at each grade in preparation for what is coming.
Okay.
I think, from my observations, I would think Brookline is growing a little quicker.
Well, historically it has, since the
Right.
co-op was formed.
Yeah, so we're preparing at that level, and one of the things we were very conscious of in this year's co-op budget, our class sizes at the co-op next year will probably relatively small, but we were very concerned that if we released a very talented individual teaching in any area, they're not gonna be there, or necessarily wanna come back when this bubble shows up.
Yeah.
Yep. So it really hasn't been, and you'll see that a little more from the discussions at the governing board, taking into that K-12 picture rather than just your own district.
Good,
Yep.
thanks.
To the point about the portables, which everyone loathes, someone I'm close to was looking at work at a 3,600 square foot addition to a commercial building, and it came in at $1.3 million. So we can scoff at portables,
Oh,
but at the same time.
But they are necessary very often,
The
yeah.
cost is horrific for
Well, the-
constructing bricks and mortar.
Right.
You just gotta give those teachers a lot of love, is what.
Well, we have to.
Bring them breakfast every Friday. And, you know.
And I think
are you listening?
the other thing that we've discussed a little bit, long-term, and when I'm talking long-term, I'm looking at like 5 to 10 years. We may want to do something around preschool and kindergarten being a separate entity right over on our field that we have, because that is growing the most, especially with your 3 and 4-year-olds. And what we're seeing is just monumental progress for students coming in who have disabilities, because when they get into the school environments with their peers, just like everybody else, they want to fit in. So all of a sudden, they're making great strides, and I don't see those programs diminishing.
Growing for sure.
Yeah, and, and again, if we did that, we'd look at some ways to provide administrative support. We may look at combining the SAU building with that building, and getting rid of the old Hollis property and reconfiguring a little bit. So there's a lot going on long-term, as well as trying to figure out, tomorrow. Thank you for indulging me there. Yeah, we're off to
Anytime.
deliberations, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
All right, here we go. To see what action the board will take regarding the teacher nomination list recommended by the superintendent.
I will, I'm getting to I wasn't sure if I needed to, use particular verbiage.
Page 5.
Do you have
Getting there. I'm scrolling. I got stuck in somewhere else. There it is. I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation for teacher nominations as presented.
second?
Any discussion? I want to thank Candy and Gina for just giving us all of the details. You had great things to say about the teachers, and it was just really nice to hear. So thank you for coming. Okay, all in favor? 5-0-0. Great, thank you. To see what action the board will take regarding the reapproval of policy BCA, Board Member Code of Ethics.
I move that the board by roll call state agreement to adhere to policy BCA Board Member Code of Ethics.
Thanks, Secretary. I prefer not to second motions if y'all don't mind.
Second.
Okay.
Thanks, Tammy.
Okay, so is there discussion about the Code of Ethics? This is something that we
I just want to point out that this
do
is mandated by RSA that we take this step each year.
every year, right? Yep.
And it is a vote.
Right, yep, I'll do a roll call. Tammy?
Tammy, aye.
And I.
Andrea, aye.
Carol Roy, aye.
Amy, aye. Okay. To see what action the board will take regarding the reapproval of policy DFA investment.
I move to adopt policy DFA investment.
Have a second? Sure. Okay. Discussion.
Just to give the board a little bit for the new members what this is, we haven't utilized this policy in a number of years, but it was designed when the tax dollars came in. There was an opportunity historically to do short-term, very secure investments and make money off of that investment. The economy is changing. There may be an opportunity coming up now to do that again, but for my 9 years, there was no real value in doing it because the rates were so low. So what we're basically doing is saying that we have this policy. It does require, the board to discuss it and go through it, but it may actually be something that in the next few years we look at again.
And are we supposed to note that the last acceptance date should be listed differently?
Yeah.
It says, noted that the last acceptance date should be listed as April 6, 2022, right?
Yep.
And I think in the packet,
It says January 5th,
it
2022.
says January. So, I don't know if new board members know, but our packet, when it's delivered to us, is also posted on the website for the public. And if there's an error, it's important to catch it. We can update the website so the public knows what it is.
Sorry, just for everyone's record, the site that hosts all of our policies is down,
Right.
so we weren't able to access the policy directly, so that is probably the source of the error of the date.
And it's down because of a hack on the servers that the contractor who hosts this. And it just reminds me again that our district is very smart in investing in strong IT personnel and putting, we get sometimes complaints about, I can't get out of the building with this and that and this and that, on devices, but this is the reason.
Okay. Any further discussion on that policy? Okay. All in favor? 500. Thank you. To see what action the board will take regarding the proposed 2023-2024 school calendar.
I move to approve the 2023-2024 school calendar as presented.
Can I have a second? Okay. Discussion? No discussion? Okay. All in favor? 500. There is nothing else. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. Okay. All in favor? 500. Great. We are adjourned at 7:55.